Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at my second tournament of 2024 and my first tournament representing Infinite Disc, my new sponsor for the year. Of course, I've already put out a little bit of content talking about that sponsorship with Infinite, so do go check that out if you haven't already. But yes, this is the first time I would be playing an event with their name on my back, as you can see here, so I was pretty excited to try to go out and represent the sponsor well. And this was a NADGT event out in Chatham, Alabama at the Lake Ellis Disc Golf Course. I did post a practice round video at this course not too long ago, and so you might have been able to see some details about the course from that. But yeah, this was 2 rounds here. As you can see, it had been raining quite a lot, so the ground and footing was definitely an issue throughout this tournament, as it's all natural tees and just a lot of flooding and stuff. So there's definitely some adverse conditions, but luckily we did avoid the rain during the event. There were some windy conditions at times, but nothing too bad. And all in all, again, I think this is really pretty course. It's a really fun course to play. And, you know, I was coming in just hoping to play my best. You know, I didn't really have too many expectations. This was just like my second event coming back to MA2. You know, the Fairhope Jubilee didn't really go as well as I wanted, but I wasn't too far off of a decent finish, and I was just a few strokes off of like a top 5 spot. So I knew that I had some things going my way. My putt was feeling mostly pretty good going into this tournament. You know, my accuracy felt pretty good. It was just my forehand was a little iffy, and, you know, I just wanted to make sure I was really consistent. And so I did play pretty conservative throughout this tournament, as you'll see, but maybe that leads to some good results. You'll have to find out. Without further ado, let's hop into round number 1 of this NADGT event I competed at. All right, so here is round 1. We started on hole number 5. And I actually got to play with my friend Dave because there's only 2 MA50 competitors in the tournament, and they needed the 3rd person on their card, so I volunteered to step down and play with them. So it was nice to have some cool vibes on the card this first round, as I was trying to just play like a nice low shot on this hole because it's very downhill at 330 feet, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't go too far into the water. And I actually threw a pretty good shot. It didn't get as left as I wanted to, but it was a safe shot and it definitely stayed well away from OB. And just had a tough time committing to the first putt of the tournament there. You know, it's a lengthy one, probably 35 feet or so. So certainly, you know, a difficult, you know, edge of circle 1 to circle 2 putt. Didn't quite get it done, but at least I got the par, so didn't take any damage. Then we get to hole 6. Kind of a weird dogleg right hole. Definitely plays longer than the distance says, and I just threw this 2 inside. Luckily, that tree branch kind of stopped me from going way into the woods right, so I still had a really clean up shot to make sure I got a par out of this situation. Like I said, my forehand had just been feeling kind of iffy lately, but still not too bad. Now we're on to the next hole, hole 7, another really weirdly shaped hole with a very tight fairway, also pretty downhill. I decided to play just the widest lane possible, which is this wide left forehand, and actually threw it pretty well and got some good ground action. I just didn't quite push it forward enough. Didn't quite, you know, get enough power on it, and so I left myself well short. And didn't really want to mess with this hole too much. Just wanted to get my par move out of there. And now we get to the levee holes. You can see there's a little bit of wind now on my jersey picking up, and really the whole goal of this hole for me was just to play it for par. It was at 375 feet, which is a little out of my distance range, especially in the wind and with the danger on the right-hand side of the water. So I threw my Halo Aztec, a pretty decently overstable 10-speed disc, and just played something safe to the fairway. I almost went a little too left, but luckily I got forward enough to get into this little pocket, and I had a pretty easy pitch up to make sure I got par out of the situation. There's Dave right there. Also shout out to Chris French, another MA50 player in the area. Really cool dude. You've seen Dave in some of my videos, of course. So now we're on hole 9. Another, you know, fairly long par 3 at like 350, 360. It's a little downhill, and if you want to carry the water, you definitely can attack this pin, but I did not want anything to do with it in these windy conditions. And so I just pumped the hyzer into a very safe spot out left and do a very simple upshot to make sure I got my par. So playing very conservative on these levee holes by the water. This is the first hole I really wanted to attack. The other holes were either tricky or in windy conditions by water. This is one I really felt like I could get, and I just shanked it. I mean, the grip lock of grip locks. So wide and high. But just kind of focused up, made sure that I made the most of the situation and threw a really nice upshot here to have a tap in, which is exactly what you want in windy conditions on an elevated basket. Don't want to have to mess around with it too much. So still, I'm not scoring, but that was the first hole I really felt like I needed to get that I missed. So I'm still not too disappointed in how the round's going so far. Things have been clean, no mistakes. This is a longer par 4. About 600 feet, I think. Thought I played it safe, but I actually wound up hyzering way more left than I thought. And luckily, this sidewalk was not out of bounds. Only the main road was. So I actually gave myself good footing for my plant foot. And also gave myself a really nice hyzer line to the basket. But definitely tested the OB on this one. Through that same Halo Aztec, I've been throwing quite a lot. It's been kind of my new favorite, slightly overstable control driver. And, I mean, I hit it right on the dot, 300 feet. And left myself a pretty short putt for my first birdie of the tournament, perhaps. And a nice confident putt right in the center. So that puts me at 1 under par. Hole 12 here. I thought I threw a pretty good line. I was just playing the hyzer over the hut. But I just didn't push forward enough, and I catch an early tree branch. I thought I was past all of that, honestly, but I guess I just didn't quite have the nose down enough. So it left me a pretty long circle 2 putt here, straddling around a tree. And nearly found it, just a touch too low. I want to get in the par there. So now we're at about a 300-foot hole here. Again, water danger on the right, so definitely want to make sure you play something inside if you're going to have a miss. But the shot on this hole really is probably a hyzer over the trees. And I just threw too stable of a disc if I was going to try to go up the gut. So it just hyzered out on me way too much. I either need to throw that disc over the trees, like with more height, or I need to throw something less stable. Either way, still get that a decent run, honestly. But easy tap in for par. Or is it? Actually, no. This one is a little bit of a tester. Not too bad, though. And that was a little low, honestly, but we got the job done nonetheless. This hole, very tricky, very tight gaps. Same kind of 300 feet of distance, but a little bit downhill. And yeah, again, just too stable of a disc for the situation I was trying to do. Didn't really adjust in the previous hole. Should have really, you know, changed my selection up. But I threw a nice forehand upshot here. My forehand upshots have been really iffy lately. That's why I've been leaning on the backhand upshot quite a lot, but that one worked out pretty well. Now, this one was the worst footing, perhaps, of any of the holes. You can see how flooded it is up there by the tee sign. And I wound up just not being able to get my footing on that and just yanked it left. And so it left me a pretty long upshot, honestly. But I've been pretty comfortable throwing this Envy slightly nose up on a little bit of Annie. And as you can see, it gave me a really good result here for a nice stress-free par. Now I get the hole 16. This is a hole that I did really well in practice and felt like I could really attack. And I don't know if you might have noticed this during the Fairhope tournament, but I was having trouble just yanking this right a lot. So that one hurt. But then just drilled a 95-footer. And this is a nature appreciation moment, a fox squirrel. My first time seeing one, just a massive squirrel.
I don't know if it's somebody left it or someone
if you've never seen one before. I thought it was a cat at first, honestly. The thing's huge. Anyway, on to the next hole, hole 17. A pretty short little hole here, and I threw a nice line with the Envy. Exactly what I wanted. A little bit of a longer putt than I wanted, but it's a good throw. And, yeah, just a tough miss there. That's really my second miss on the putting green. This is a par 5, actually. Like 800 and something feet, I think. But it's just shaped tough to eagle it. So, might be kind of a soft par 5. But it isn't really one that I don't think people are going to eagle that much. So, I feel like it's pretty fair. And I'm kind of just dissecting the hole. You know, getting my 300 to 275 feet per shot, and then just making sure I have like a 200 to 250 foot up shot to make sure I get up there for birdie. Left myself a bit short. I was kind of just misjudging my distance on some of these up shots, leaving them a little bit shorter. But hit a nice, long, confident putt after missing a putt the previous hole, so that was really nice. And I still haven't taken any bogeys yet, so I think I'm like 3 under at this point or something like that. Hole 1, this hole's just out of my range for a birdie, unless I really get on one. I think it was like a 380-foot hole or so with some rolling hills. So, I also didn't throw a good drive there. I was really nose up, so didn't even really give myself a circle tool lick. So, just little pitch up for par, no problem. Dog leg left here. And the only way I really found a way to access this basket in practice was just throw something understable on a lot of hyzer and let it glide left over towards the basket. And I thought I did a pretty good job off the tee, but then when I got up, I realized I didn't drift left enough still. So still didn't quite get the angle right on this and left myself a really long putt. And just yanked it right, which has been kind of my miss if I am going to miss putting, is just yanking right, trying to get too much power on the disc. But the very next hole, focused up, threw a beautiful shot on a short downhill hole. Drop in birdie. You love to see those. Tracy loves to see it too, my fiance who filmed.
No foot fault?
Nope.
And this is a tricky hole because it was really uphill and the footing was just not good on this tee pad. I could not get comfortable on this in practice. In that video I filmed, and it was the same issue in the tournament. Just, I know I've been yanking my disc right a little bit on some of my backhands anyway, but that one, again, the footing really got me on that one. So another long putt. Another near miss. And so I dropped that one in for par. And so we'll take a look at the scorecard here. I started on hole 5, kind of on the par train for a while, which was fine. I feel like the only hole that I missed that I felt like I really should have gotten was hole 10. Hole 6 is definitely not 222. It definitely plays closer to like 275, 280, the way it's shaped, honestly. And then this was a longer, tricky downhill hole. This was a really tricky downhill hole, just the way the fairway was shaped. Hole 8, it wasn't actually 420 feet because we weren't playing the long pin position. We played the short pin position, so it's more like 375. But even still, I just didn't want to mess with these levee holes by the water with the windy conditions. So, again, the first hole I missed that I really wanted was 10 because I just shanked the tee shot. But then wound up birdieing 11. Again, kind of missed some of these holes you really do want to be birdieing on the back nine because they are shorter and a little bit less technical. Although I would say I think it's 14 is definitely a tough shape to hit. So I was a little bit disappointed I didn't get at least one of these 3 holes, honestly. Or even 15. I felt like I really should be able to get that one. Same with 17. I had a really good chance at a putt on this one, just didn't get it. But then I was able to get the birdie on 18, just, playing it really nice and smart. And then wound up grabbing a birdie on hole 3 as well. So I wound up shooting a 4 under par, which was rated 917. So my big goal has been trying to get over 900 rating. That was one of my goals last year I didn't really hit. And so I'm really trying to look to do that this year, is to hit over 900 by the end of the year. And I was able to shoot well above my rating in this. I'm rated 876 at the moment, so I shot 39 points above my rating and working towards that 900 goal. And it also set me up with, a bogey-free round, no OB penalties, no real mistakes. Yeah, I missed a couple of putts, but I also hit a couple of crazy long-range putts as well for birdie. So they kind of even out in the end. I felt like overall my putting performance was pretty good. I felt overall I played smart golf. I didn't really, again, make any huge blunders, just a couple of missed putts, really. And then that one shank on hole 10 off the tee, but all my other tee shots besides one hole were pretty good. So felt good. I wound up going into the second round with a 4-stroke lead over second place. So had a pretty, little comfortable pocket to play with there. And without further ado, we will roll into the second round. All right, and so on round 2, I started on hole 6, and this time I tried to go for the backhand turnover because I just wasn't really getting a good attack on this basket with a forehand. But I just threw this 2 inside, pulled it a little right. Left myself a tricky upshot, honestly. Had to do a little patent pending here, and I left this short, honestly. So a pretty nervy putt to start my second round with. But I wasn't feeling too pressured. I knew I had a decent lead. And able to can it. Nice and center. So, grab the par on that hole. Again, totally fine with par on that hole. It's just a tricky shape for me. Same with this hole. I basically did the same exact forehand play I did the previous round. This time I flexed it a little bit more to try to give it a bit more distance, but I still didn't really get down the hill towards the basket very well. And I kind of tried to give that a little bid, but honestly, it was kind of in between giving it a chance and laying up. I hadn't really made up my mind. And so it wound up being a horrible attempt at both, but I still wound up making the putt. And then, again, getting back to these levee holes, I just wasn't really looking to contend with these. I actually threw a slightly more overstable disc because the headwind had picked up even more since the first round. But I wound up in basically the same spot from the first round, so consistency, I guess, is good. Yeah. Kind of gave that one a little bid, but came up short. Easy par, though. This hole, I look to do basically the exact same thing I did the last round, which is just play something pretty safe to the left-hand side. And so, a little spike hyzer off to the left. And same kind of floaty back hand up shot. So pretty much deja vu from the first round. Played it exactly the same. Now this one again, I really want to get hole 10. And last time I shanked it way outside. This time it's old early release. So I overcorrected. Could not figure out this hole for some reason. It's so easy. And it was just a hole I was dominating in practice, but I could not figure it out this tournament. And then I left this upshot really short. So I left myself a pretty, testy putt on an elevated basket. But able to put it in dead center again. So my putting so far this round has been really good. I mean, yeah, I, missed some long circle 2 bits, but there were more layups than anything else. So I was hitting the putts I really needed. And this time I decided, give a little bit of juice on this one. Flex my Aztec. Got a bigger flight out of it. Still short of the OB Creek. And left myself like a 260-foot up shot, so even shorter than the previous round, but a little bit of a trickier line. And I threw my overstable Explorer Opto X, but it just flew so straight. I don't know if it was just more headwindy than I thought it was going to be. And so it just didn't hyzer at all, and so it gets stuck on this curb. And so I have a really long circle 2 putt for birdie on this hole. But I get it done. So even though I missed a couple of, edge circle 1 putts, I hit some nasty circle 2 putts throughout the course of this tournament that I'm pretty proud of. And then last round, I obviously didn't throw it far enough. So this round, I definitely did throw it far enough, but I put it way more outside than I wanted to. So I left myself a longer putt than I wanted. Again, this is one of those holes I really felt like I should be getting. It's not a hard hole. It's just a spike hyzer, 220 feet. And just yanked the putt right. Thought there was a headwind, so I thought it would raise the disc, but it didn't. This hole, I changed up my game plan. I decided to go overstable and faster and just play the spike hyzer over the trees rather than trying to play the straight shot. And I was rewarded with a birdie putt, though I had to get a little bit wet for it. I did not take much casual release off this standing water. I decided just to give myself a closer putt. And that's what the waterproof shoes come in. Thank you, Vivo. Want to hook a guy up. Some discounts, hit me up. This hole I decided to just play a straight mid-range on after the slightly overstable fairway didn't work. And, I mean, I'm proud of that shot. I just laced that thing, and it is parked. So, made a good adjustment on this hole and am rewarded with a birdie. So, back-to-back birdies. Hole 15, again, tricky footing. This time, I got a better shot, but I didn't flex it enough, so it hyzered pretty far and actually got closer to this OB water than I thought it would. My closest competitor went OB on this hole, so I knew that a par would still gain me a stroke. So I kind of just pitched it up there. This hole, threw a much better shot. Didn't turn it over, just threw a nice straight bullet down the center.
Oh, that's so short. What?
But wound up coming up shorter than I thought. I mean, I guess just the wind just didn't let it push as forward as I thought it would. I don't know. But I had a good history with this hole from the first round, and this is a shorter putt than I made the first round.
Get in there.
And I got it done. I mean, my putting just felt so on this round. So that's a turkey. 3 birdies in a row. Love to see that. Gobble, gobble. But, yeah, follow it up with this shank. But no problem. You would think, okay, easy par save, right? Wrong. I just put that thing on a ton of hyzer in a crosswind, and that thing went sailing. And so after a round and a half of disc golf bogey free, I get my first one. But I still had a pretty strong lead, so I didn't let it faze me too much, though I was disappointed in how I played the hole. Back to the par 5 here on 18. Basically trying to go for the exact same play I did the first round.
Great. Thank you.
But I got in a worse position, and so I actually was trying to play like a forehand wide left and skip it in for an approach shot. I didn't get this disc enough air. You could see it was trying to hyzer out, but I just didn't give any height to do so. So, yeah, I'm left with kind of a tricky shot to approach the green. Try to throw like a flex shot to try to get it towards the basket for at least some kind of look, but I put it too outside. I was trying to go for the left side of that pine tree and hit the gap, but instead I went right at the gap, and, again, just way outside. And took a par there. Now, I'll go ahead and pause here real quick because essentially what the situation was at this point was I had felt like I was playing pretty good. Like, yeah, I took that bogey on hole 17, which was silly, but I had a turkey just before that. And I also, I want to say I birdied another hole. Yeah, I birdied hole 11. So I birdied hole 11, missed 12, but then hit like 14, 15, and 16. So I was still, I think, 3 or 4 under for the, I think I was 3 under. Because, yeah, I can't remember. I think I was 3 or 4 under. We'll take a look at the scorecard later. Either way, was having a pretty good round. And at this point, we had 5 holes left to play, 1 through 5. And I had a 7-stroke lead. So I hadn't checked scores at all up until this point. Like I never checked scores during the first round. I just saw that I had a 4-stroke lead when the round was over. We turned in the scorecards. And I had to see what hole I was starting on and all that for the second round. So I knew I had a 4-stroke lead going into the round, but I never really checked scores. And I just felt like I was playing pretty good, and I saw that my competition wasn't really pushing me. Like, they weren't really, like, scoring a lot. We were basically getting kind of the same scores on every hole. Like, we were all kind of taking pars, or if we did birdie, we all kind of birdied together. Like, it was a really tight card. It was a really fun group to play with, honestly. So shout out to everybody I played with on this card from the MA2 division. But, yeah, going into this, I just knew that, hey, par's going to get it done. If I can just par out these 5 holes, even if my closest competitor birdies every single hole, I'll still win by 2. If he happens to get a crazy ace or something like that, then maybe I got to start getting a little bit more aggressive. But I felt pretty good to just kind of, calm down, not need to get too weird, and just kind of, go for the win. But at the same time, I still wanted to try to shoot well and get a good rating because, again, that 900 rating is a goal. And I actually decided to get a little bit more aggressive on this hole with a more understable disc, and I threw it pretty far, just 2 outside right. So I got close to pin high, but just pretty wide right. But I definitely proved to myself I can attack this hole with the right disc. And tried to run that putt, didn't quite make it, but made sure that, I still got the par there, obviously. Tried to do the same thing I did in round 1 on this hole, but I just get caught up on that limb.
No.
Not a big deal. Just leaves me another really long putt. And I just didn't even bother. I knew a par would get the job done. Didn't even want to risk doing anything silly. I birdied this hole the first round with a straight shot. And this round I threw it a little higher. Tickled a couple of little leaves, but put it close. But this was so frustrating, guys and girls out there. I am 10 feet from this thing left, but I'm literally right behind this pine tree. And the pine tree itself wouldn't be a problem because I could just straddle out left or right and still have a clean putt. But it was this little shrub thing on the left side of the tree. And then on the right side of the tree, I just had all these little, again, kind of like another like little dead shrub thing. So instead of my obstacle just being this pine tree wide, it was really from the edge of here all the way over here. And so I took definitely more than 30 seconds trying to find a way to give this a chance, and this was the best I could think of, was just lofted over the shrub. And I'm so frustrated about that. It's so unlucky. Then I'm on this uphole hill again, and I just shanked it again because I just could not get good footing on that T-pad. And the T-pad's also sloped uphill, matching the grade because it's an uphill shot. And I just couldn't figure it out. I don't know. Still a scrub in some ways. Yeah. But take a par on that one. Now we are on the final hole, hole 5. I think at this point I had a 4-stroke lead.
Oh, boy.
Put this one way more outside than I wanted to. I was trying to aim a little bit more center than that. And I almost went OB deep, which is like the one thing I was trying to avoid in the first round. And in the end, I just pitch it up there, tapping a par, and this is the win. So I was wrong. I didn't get a turkey. There was one hole in the middle that I didn't get. But I birdied 11, birdied 2 in a row, missed 15. That was the forehand. And then I got the long putt on 16. But yeah, anyway, started on 6, kind of the same par routine. Again, the only hole that I missed I really felt like I should get was 10. Oh, well, didn't get it. Still got 11, just in a harder way by a long circle 2-putt. Then missed 12, which is disappointing, but get back-to-back birdies on 13 and 14 by making some good adjustments from the first round. So I was happy not to just get the birdies, but also to, like, make good adjustments, change my game plan based on what I saw and the conditions and have it pan out. 15, I'm not too upset about that. It was really tricky footing in those wet conditions, and my forehand's been iffy lately, and it's whatever. Came and got 16 with another long circle 2-putt. Not as long as the first round, which was like a 95-footer. This one was only maybe like a 50-footer or so, but still pretty impressive nonetheless. This bogey, this one killed me, folks, because my goal was to just go bogey-free. After having a bogey-free first round and starting on hole 6 and, going 4 down with only, I think at the time, 7 holes left to play, I'm like, man, I can have a bogey-free tournament. There's only a few holes left, and I'm thinking 17's a pretty easy hole. I should definitely par that. 18 is a par 5. You should really be parring that. And I knew I could easily par these holes if I just played smart, and then I'd take a bogey on probably, I would say the easiest holes in this course are probably 3, 12, and 17, and, of course, I bogey one the easiest holes. So annoying. Brushed it off. Par 18, had a 7-stroke lead going in the final 5 holes, and to the guy's credit in second, he did birdie out. I think he birdied 1, 2, and 3, and 5, so he brought it close. I think I want to, getting pretty close, but in the end, I did win this tournament, I believe, by 4 strokes, maybe 3 strokes. It's 3 or 4 strokes. Either way, I won the tournament, and so my first event representing Infinite Disc, I get a win, and I also get my first win in the MA2 division. And on top of all of that, I achieved my goal of shooting, over 900 to start building towards that 900 rating. I'm definitely still not going to get there this next ratings update, but I think I'm going to push close to 880, maybe a little over 880 after going 915 for this event. 917 round 1, 913 round 2. Overall, averages out to almost 40 points above my rating. So, yeah, all in all, pretty happy with how things went. Kind of hard to not be happy when you get a win. Although, again, there's always things that you wish you could fix or tweak, but all good. All right, folks, so that's going to wrap it up from my first win with Infinite Disc, my first event representing Infinite Disc, and my first win in the MA2 division, as well as hitting over that 900 rating. So a lot of things went my way this tournament. Things to be proud of. 1, putting. Again, my putting's felt really good lately in the tournaments that I played. Again, even in Jubilee, where I didn't play well overall, my putting overall felt pretty good, especially inside the circle. This event, round 1, I had a couple of misses inside circle 1 that were a little bit tough, but I felt like in round 2, I didn't miss any circle 1 putts. And I made a couple of circle 2 putts for birdie from a pretty long range. And even in round 1, I had like a 95-foot putt or something like that went in. So that was pretty wild, honestly. So overall, really happy with my putting performance. Second of all, I was really happy with just my game planning. I felt like I attacked the holes the right way. I made the right adjustments between rounds. I played dangerous holes safe. I only took 1 bogey the entire tournament, and while I didn't hit that bogey-free goal, which I felt was very attainable, I think I had probably the least bogeys in the event of anyone, even the MA1 division, which played on the same tees that we did. So pretty cool to walk away with the event, you know, with, I think, the least amount of bogeys of any competitor in the tournament. Obviously, my score wasn't as good. I mean, I think the person who won MA1 had like a 17 under par tournament, and I had a 7 under par tournament, so I got beat by 10 strokes by MA1's winner, but still, all in all, I felt like I played some pretty smart golf and made some good decisions and some good, you know, disc selections and win reads and things of that nature, which is pretty nice. Also hit some good shots at times. I felt like my backhand overall was pretty good. Yeah, I had a couple of shanks out there, but that's always going to happen. You're not going to have every shot go your way. But I felt my backhand overall was pretty good. Forehand, still a little iffy on a couple of holes, if we're honest. But I also had a couple of good forehands that set me up for some good pars, so still not too shabby. I also felt my mental game was really good this tournament. Even when I had a couple of tough moments, I was able to just kind of let them go. Granted, I was winning, so I don't know if that, you know, is kind of like a false sense of how good my mental game is, because if I was getting my butt kicked, I don't know how I would have done mental game-wise, so probably still something I need to kind of keep an eye on going forward. But all in all, really cool to finally get to represent my new sponsor, Infinite, in a tournament, and to go out and be able to win my debut with them is even cooler. And to get an MA2 win this early in the year, I thought it would take a while before I got to win an MA2. Granted, there wasn't as many competitors in this event, to be honest, but we got it done, and there's a shot of a couple of buddies of mine. Dave, who you've seen in some videos, actually won the MA50 division, and then JJ, this little stud over here, I think he's like only 15 years old, and he won MA1 by 1 stroke, I think, in the end. But this dude shot an 11 under par round 1 and was rated over 1,000. This kid, be on the lookout for him. JJ Campbell out in the South. Obviously, Silas Williams is another like young up and comer who's almost 1,000 rated and is crushing it in the pro field in the Southeast area. But JJ definitely is coming up in the Southeast. Also, shout out to Woods McHugh coming up in the Southeast. I think he came like top 15 in MJ12 at Junior Worlds. So he's another guy in the Southeast that is a really cool young up-and-comer. I wish JJ would get some social media so I could promote him and get him on some content. We'll see if we can change that soon. He's a really cool kid with a good attitude and just lives and breathes disc golf. But yeah, it was kind of cool that myself and 2 buddies of mine all got wins in our respective divisions together. And yeah, so folks, thanks so much for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed the content, please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. Let me know what you thought, and I'll catch you on the next one.